Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Mark Nelson. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am well, except my dogs want to join in on this conversation and they can't. This is
Oh
between you and
no.
me. This is between you and me and others that need to hear this conversation we're having. So I want to take a moment. Let's just stop. Dogs aside. I hope you're not able to hear that, Mark, but welcome everyone that's able to join us here today, both live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and then those that might benefit from this recording in the future. We'll make sure that this is something that Mark has the opportunity to share as well. And why don't we go ahead and we'll just do introductions and then Mark, I want to get into it. Since I'm already speaking, how about I'll just go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Stacy Bishop. I have had the pleasure of working with the gentleman alongside of me here a few times, and I'll share how that is just in a few moments. But my role, I grew up inside Jack Henry, selling to banks, and then stepping out to sell to banks and credit unions for fintechs, channel partners. And that's where I first ran across Mark, the FI Navigator solution, when it came down to prospecting organizations. So, why don't we go ahead and shift over to Mark here for a moment? And we're going to get into the discussion. Mr. Nelson, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how FI Navigator helps with this topic of prospecting? And then I'm
Yeah,
just going to
yeah,
start.
yeah. So I've been with FI Navigator for about 6.5 years now. I'm the chief sales officer. Been in the banking vertical my entire career. Got my start in public accounting, auditing banks and credit unions. So yeah, interesting transition.
Yeah,
I feel like it
auditing
was
sales.
much more
Yeah,
consultative sales is how I try to look at it.
I like it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
And FI Navigator, we get up every day trying to figure out how we can help our clients with their account-based sales and marketing strategy.
And and your clients being fintech founders or individuals wanting to sell to banks and credit unions.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Which has been me in the past and obviously here in the present as well. And that's why I first came across Mark. He is, don't let him fool you. He is a heck of a consultative seller with auditing background, accounting background. Besides that, Mark, you've sold me a couple of times on the solution because let's be honest, the banking vertical, just selling into banks and credit unions, it's not as easily translatable as people might think from a SaaS world. That's why we have specialty solutions like FI Navigator. And I kind of want to just start getting into this, if you don't mind, Mark, because I have a few questions keyed up for both of us that I wonder if individuals in the audience are also thinking about. And this first question, or my first observation, is that most founders try to sell to everyone, especially fintechs coming into the U.S. from international companies or organizations. There is this opportunity, and I get it. There are 9,700 banks and credit unions in the U.S. that we can target. The challenges I see it, Mark, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, is that those 9,700 FIs also have 13,000 plus fintechs trying to get their attention as well. And most try to do this, most fintech founders or fintechs in general try to just blast them all with messaging that maybe it's a little specialized by role, maybe not. If my LinkedIn DMs are any indication, it's not. It's just generic messaging going out. And I think there's an inherent challenge when it comes to taking that approach where you are just trying to speak to everyone right off the bat. We're going to get into a little bit deeper this concept, but I'd love to hear what you think about this from your background.
Yeah, I just got off a call before I got on this one, and it's a new company that has a foreign exchange international payment solution, and they said our
Yeah.
target market is every institution less than 5 billion in assets. And I was like, well, there's about 2,500 credit unions that are less than 75 million in assets. I'm not sure they're going to be
Your turn.
your priority on day one. So let's you know, so it's all about trying to identify what is your addressable market, right? I mean, you have
Agreed.
to, or you're just going to be spinning wheels, talking to the wrong people.
Yep. I love a good TAM SAM SOM exercise where TAM, yeah, there's 7,500, or I'm sorry, forgive me, 9,700 FIs in the US. Then we start getting down into, okay, they want to sell below that asset size that you mentioned, probably above the $75 million on the credit union side. There might be some additional way to narrow down that target list so that they can truly focus in. And that could be extremely helpful. I'm just returning from Money 2020, Mark. I cannot tell you the number of cross-border solutions that I saw, stablecoin solutions that I saw, hot market right now. So for that fintech founder you spoke with earlier today, and anyone else that might be watching this later, it's going to be extremely important that you have your messaging intact and that you do know who you're going for. And I kind of want to, let's talk about that for just a second, Mark. I think you and I have chatted in the past about going to events. We are hot and heavy in event season. You and I might still have a couple more each that we'll be going to. Hope to see you in passing. But there's also this belief, you go to these events, you get these business cards and these LinkedIn connections, and you think that these individuals are your target. What is your thought on collecting business cards and collecting leads? It's great. It feels very good. But do you have an opinion one way or another on that? I'll share mine.
Yeah, I mean, we just got back from a American Banker event. It was directed at small business, and we obviously target financial institutions as well as fintech. So we did a huge amount of research on all the attendees at the show, and said these, while they're at the show, they're probably not good candidates for us. So we definitely had going into the show, we knew exactly who we were going after and why, because we thought we could help them. Some we didn't think we could help. So it just makes it a lot easier to know who your best prospects are.
Oh my gosh. I cannot stress that enough. I have been in those booths before, or the individual that has been sent to gather interest before. Doing that prep work in advance of an event, it's easy to say in my seat now after the fact, but before you go into an event, I think we all know we should be targeting some people, we should be setting up some meetings, but there's a lot of individuals that will just accept whatever meetings coming their way. I have been that individual in the past. There is a great deal of comfort in knowing who your target customer is, your target prospect, and then being comfortable saying, I'm not certain that we're the best fit for you. I think that you could find an additional player or some other individual here or company at the show that might better suit your needs. We specialize in this. It feels odd. You want to chase everything. I get it. But you also want to have some traction and eliminate distractions. And that's what I think I would share with you, Mark. There's an organization that I have worked for in my recent past that when I came in to assist them with their go-to-market strategy and just their messaging and just moving the ball down the court, if you will, there was a lot of information in the pipeline. They had uploaded a list. I have no idea where they got the list, but it was just a list of thousands of FIs in the US that we could potentially sell to. And there were not hundreds, but scores and scores of leads, people that stopped by a booth. And these might be people that picked up some swag, but these were people that showed up. They had a pulse. They stopped by the booth, and these were now leads. And I always find myself thinking, when you come into a situation and these leads haven't been touched in months, we got to be honest with ourselves. They're probably not our best leads. They're ones we can nurture, we can warm up. They're not going to be your hot target. And if you look at those people stopping by a booth or people that you've spoken with at an event, that their only qualification is that they are upright and they are willing to speak to you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're your target customer. So I guess from my seat, moving into that situation, we had to have some serious discussions about niching down, about defining who we're really going to focus on first. Because yes, all those prospects in the CRM are that. They are prospects. They are leads we can chase after we warm up. but we got to the point where we focused on our ICP looks like this. It's an FI that looks like this. Do we have those players that we've spoken to or interacted with in the past? Because that becomes an easier story for sure. If not, how do we find banks and credit unions that look like this? And there are tools like FI Navigator to help with that. So I know I also I want to take a moment to mention that FI Navigator, had I been able to use it at this most recent example, you all have an event component built into the tool, right? Can you share a little bit about that if you don't mind, Mark?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
The event component that I know you do a great job of tracking before you move into an event and identifying who you want to speak with.
Oh yeah.
What type of tool does FI Navigator have? Because I could have used it this past week.
Yeah, we call it conference import. So, you typically get an attendee list before a show, and our clients are able to load that data into our platform, and we provide them with a list of all the contact data. But to me, the most important piece is to be able to know who you're going to talk to, right, at the event, but why. You still got to answer the why. So then you can layer in things like technology, or what's their business strategy, or do they have any intent signals that indicate that they're looking for certain types of solutions. So you can go in pre-show. Your outbound messaging is very focused, because people always ask, why are you sending me an email?
Mm-hmm.
And the quicker you can get past, well, because you're on this core, or your business strategy aligns with ours. Mm-hmm. So I think the messaging, I don't know about you, but you get an email and it's just, I'm not the right person, and the messaging's wrong, and it's like blocked. I mean, the first time you send the email to the wrong person might be the last time you're able to get an email through to them. But so hopefully that's helpful.
Oh, it's super helpful. And you're dead on there. I think people appreciate when you come in with a story with the why. I'm reaching out to you because I speak with COOs at financial institutions in this asset range that are trying to solve this type of problem. And that is somewhat generic. Please make your messaging as specific as possible to the person and to the role as you can. But it helps to know that the COO of a $10 billion bank is not exactly getting the same messaging as a chief risk officer at I'll pick on a $75 credit union, because you mentioned that example earlier. You have to make sure that the messaging is going to resonate and that these people know why you're reaching out. I love what Mark pointed out, because it's absolutely so true. You really get one shot to reach out to these people, and you need to make sure that shot is a great shot. Sure, I'm going to suggest that you multi-sequence, that you do have additional touch points with that person. But when you miss the opportunity right off the bat, where you're speaking to the wrong person with the wrong why, the wrong messaging, and it's simply generic, they are going to block you, or they are going to recognize that Stacy Bishop trying to pitch this solution for this company, we don't need to pay attention to it, because they don't do what we need. At least that's their impression.
Yeah. So we're a small company. I say, and you think, well, Mark must be putting this messaging together and sending out these emails. To me, small company, one of the best investments we've ever made was a highly talented lead generation expert who understands the industry, who collaborates with the management team on what the messaging should be. So, automate your lead generation stack and hire a professional to drive all outbound
for sure
messaging. So, I want to give our guys credit, because it's been a valuable investment for us.
That's amazing. Just truly connecting the dots between the prospecting angle and then doing it well, because these are two different conversations about who to target and why, and then what do you do with that information and how do you use it. So thank you for connecting the dot that there are amazing tools that you can use to automate that outbound, like Mark mentioned, with the right messaging, And I also, if you have the right signals, and that's something I want to get into in just a little bit, Mark. Well, I'm going to change gears for a moment. Um, I have had this situation happen before multiple times where, and I'm going to move on to this next topic, where there is this belief, if you're a fintech founder, and I'm saying fintech founders, I'm sure it's in other industries as well, but fintech founders, for the purposes of our conversation, where you think that you're in order to start just getting contracts flowing is to partner with a big channel partner, somebody that has a big logo and hundreds or thousands of customers that you then have unlocked to you. And I got to be honest with you, I love the strategy. I love a good channel partnership. I used to manage those in my past for Jack Henry. I have been responsible as well after I moved into fintech sales, more specifically for startup fintechs, about formulating channel partnerships. But I've never been under the misconception that a channel partner is going to sell everything for you and that the floodgates are just going to open up and that you are not going to also need some sort of a direct to bank, direct to credit union sales model. And if I can share a story, Mark, from my past, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. When I was with Jack Henry and managed at least a dozen, well, around 20-ish channel partners. I want you to stop and think for just a moment of the number I've just mentioned, 20 channel partners that I managed. And that was in addition to, at that time, managing a couple of teams, and collectively we sold 80 products within the Jack Henry suite. 80 products. That wasn't even the entire Jack Henry suite that would be taken to market. The reason I'm mentioning these numbers is when you come into a channel partner relationship and you think a logo, a big brand, is going to be fully focused on selling your solution, I want to invite you to rethink that. Because my teams, when I worked at the big core company, they were focused and quoted on those 80 products that I mentioned. That was their job. That was how they were going to get the job done, selling those solutions to banks. In that case, it was just banks at that time. It was an absolute bonus, and we loved positioning channel partner solutions when it facilitated a need that we had in a deal. But it wasn't always something where we were going to say, all right, we have this new channel partnership. Let's go out in our base and start just hammering through that. These individuals have time, resource constrictions, just like the rest of you. And with that quota, they're going to focus on what is going to get them to that quota. And that's their job, to sell whatever brand they're representing and facilitate the channel partnership relationships when and where it makes sense. I want to tell you that story simply because I want you to know that whenever you go into channel partnerships, you just have to keep an eye on the fact that these will be bonuses for you, the channel partners. And when they start happening, it's fantastic. But until it does, and always, you need a direct channel model where you're going to FIs directly. Mark, am I right or am I wrong here? That's just my path.
You're right. You're right. You're spot on. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had what we thought was just going to be this fantastic relationship with a trade association, and we just weren't getting any traction. And then I was talking to one of their salespeople, and he explained their compensation structure. And it was like, well, now I know why. Now I know why it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not really incented to sell, a product.
Yeah,
It's so low. It's so low, and they get an annual, commission, an annual bonus, but very little of that was on how much of our stuff they sold.
That's right.
Yeah, so misaligned.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad to hear that you have. Well, I hate to hear that you've experienced it. I'm glad to hear that you can validate it. There are ways that I've coached fintech founders. I have kind of a channel partner sales, but because I've been on that side of the house, I have seen some deals negotiated where, yeah, I had 20 channel partners that I needed to represent and to work with and interact with. Some of them negotiated well and actually put requirements on me as the channel partner person working for the big brand. So there are ways. I would invite you to reach out. You can subscribe to my Selling FinTech newsletter as well, because I try to provide a little bit of insight into ways they may not work for every solution, but they're definitely not going to work unless you ask for things such as time in front of the salespeople. Ask if there's an opportunity to spiff the salespeople through the company for any sales. There might be a revenue share, and that's great. But if it, Mark, to your point, if the seller's not comped on it, they're not going to pay attention to it, nor should they. They're comped to sell the company's solutions. So there are tactics and ways, but you have to understand not all of those tactics and ways will be accepted for every solution. So that's why we're here today. Because if you are sitting there thinking, hey, a channel partnership is going to get the job done, all I need is a channel partnership. Listen to Mark and I, please, 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 and just understand that there are alternate ways and needs that need to be accessed here. And that's where solutions like FI Navigator can come into play for you to help you figure out, all right, my channel partner focuses on FIs that look like this or that have these needs. Perhaps we can take a different strategy with our direct sales model. It can be a yes and type of situation, or you can both go after the same types of targets. But outside of that model, there's so many different ways and different flavors. The major takeaway here, don't sleep on your own direct to FI sales efforts when it comes to channel partnerships. That's my big takeaway, Mark.
Amen.
Anything? Amen. All right. I want to get into this next question here, this next topic that I'll even let you start on this one. As a seller and a person that today helps broker strategically partnerships between banks and between fintechs, there can be this confusion around the inside of a financial institution. Not all of them have the same titles. You may not understand exactly who comes into play in making decisions. So this whole topic of the difficult nature of knowing who to target, which roles inside these FIs, it's a real one. Mark, how do you suggest that fintech founders that you work with approach this type of topic with a tool like FI Navigator?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I use a note taker when I do a session. Otter.ai, I think is the one that I use, but it always says this person appears to be a decision maker, and I ask myself why would they say that? Because they're asking the right types of questions. So sometimes you get in and you think it's got to be the CFO, but it's really the CIO, because the CIO is the one that's asking the right questions. So I mean, it's too easy to say, I'm targeting this one, type of title, because
Yep.
I think what I find is it's good to get them in a group, and who seems to be not the one that's talking the most, but the one that's asking all the right questions is probably the one that's going to be driving the business decision, or
Nice.
driving your product to a decision.
Okay. For you, what are the right questions that you hear in these types of conversations? What would Otter tell you? Are they the strategic questions? Are they the down and dirty tactical?
The strategic questions, tactical questions, but they're not just asking silly questions. They're asking questions that, are definitely trying to understand how they would leverage our tool, in their strategy. So, yeah.
They're the ones that are what I like to think in terms of they're thinking of the future state. They're trying to connect where they are today, their current state, with where they're trying to go, their future state, and asking questions that showcase how they bridge the two worlds. And to your point, they can be strategic and tactical. They can be how would we implement this and use this to achieve X? But it's also like how would Stacy go about signing on to the solution? And could she pull information on one FI at a time, or can she pull information on a list at a time? What search criteria? Those types of things where they're really trying to figure out if it could work. Those have been, to my in my experience, the types of questions as well, Mark, that indicate they're decision makers. Same for you, those types
Yeah,
of.
I was doing a session yesterday, and usually for us when we're talking to an FI, it's the CEO or the CFO, sometimes the marketing side. But
Okay.
this whole process is being driven by their CIO. So and he assembled his entire management team for a session, and yeah, I mean it's so yeah, but you got to identify as quickly as possible who your champion's going to be. They may not be the ultimate decision maker, but they're the ones that are going to push your solution through whatever the process is that they go through at the
For
financial.
sure. I love a good champion. You also need to know the other players that are going to be involved in the decision. And some of this can be assumed upfront. Let's say you're selling a loan origination system. Those were hot as well this past week of Money 2020. You likely know that you are going to be targeting in this discussion, a chief lending officer. Think in terms as well of what we call in sales above the line decision makers. So the CFO will be involved in dispersing the funds. You need to consider and sell to them as well. Perhaps a CTO, depending upon the organization, perhaps someone as well, the CEO. Everyone should always include that consideration in their discussions. Chief risk officer. You likely want some people below the line also. The business unit individuals, wouldn't you say, Mark? The lenders or loan ops that might be facilitating the discussion and the decision. Others that would be involved. A chief digital officer when it comes to loan origination systems. Your mind might not initially go there, but if your solution works in branch and online, you need to think about the people that facilitate it online. And the great thing about tools like FI Navigator, it lets you go out and, first of all, understand who these roles are. That'll take some work on your part. And then you can go out through a tool like FI Navigator and say, I need to know who the chief digital officer is at this bank, or the lending individuals. And you can go out and search by like a title or category, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Title. Yeah. A role. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I love to use that information preemptively. And even if you're a little too early for FI Navigator, and I want to talk about the timing of FI Navigator and when it makes sense as well. But even if you are like early on in the process, you can set yourself up for success when you go into a discovery or intro call and know what your next steps are and who you want in those next steps. So if you're starting with an intro call, your next step is a discovery call. At the end of the intro call, if you both decide that there's enough meat on the bone to move forward into the demo, it's great to have preemptively done some research through FI Navigator or other tools like a Google search or LinkedIn, but to go out and say, I know that I am pitching a loan origination system. I know the typical buying committee looks like this. Who are the people in those roles? And then ask for those people to be involved in the demo. That was one of the fundamental ways that I had used FI Navigator in my past, is to map it after I had my target list. I used it for a lot of stuff, Mark. I would map out target lists and run campaigns from it, but then also help me understand who the buyers are. I could link directly out and see their email addresses and or link out to their LinkedIn to see what they're talking about, to see what's important to them, and then use that information as I progressed along a buying journey or sales cycle to invite those people into the discussion. I already had their email, I had their phone number. I could just ask a question such as, if it makes sense for us to move into the demo phase, we often see that the chief loan officer and a lender are involved. According to my research, I did a little research in advance. It looks like that might be John and that might be also Sue in these areas. Did I get those names correctly? And guess what? Even if I accidentally chose the wrong person based on an assumption, people love to correct you. So don't be worried if they correct you. And if they do confirm that I grabbed the right people from the data sources with a tool like FI Navigator, you can say, that's great. If their email address matches yours, it looks like that email address is, j.smith@fnb.com. Would you like me to, did I get that correct? Would you like me to also invite them to the demo, or would you like to handle that internally? But you're pressure testing the buying committee, you're pressure testing your assumption of the data, and then you're inviting more people into the discussion each step of the way using tooling that's built for the banking space with a tool like FI Navigator. That's been my thought process on it.
Yeah, what you just described is how do you build efficiency into the sales process, right? So
Exactly.
you're going to do a session with this guy, then you're going to have to do it. Then you're going to have to do a session with these other people. Boy, if you could just be smart on the front end and collapse that into one session, that's very efficient. Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think ultimately what you're kind of talking about, we sell to financial institutions. It's not our primary business focus, but I was talking to a credit union yesterday, and they had a unique lending focus. They had about 40% in commercial real estate. And when you looked at their mix, it looked a lot like a bank. And I was fascinated. So before I even started my presentation, I asked them, hey, could you tell me how you got to this point, how a credit union, and I said, I ran a query. There's really only 20 credit unions in your asset size that have this type of lending mix. And to me, it just set the whole, they're like, this guy, he knows our business strategy. So right in the beginning, I set my, that I understood who I was talking to.
Oh, Mark, that is a professional move right there. You showed them that you know them. And when you do this research, which I hate to keep plugging FI Navigator, but I'm going to, it's all right there for you. The information is available for you to see not only the composition of their key portfolio elements, like you mentioned, a commercial portfolio, but ratios that you might see, key metrics inside a bank that are important for positioning your solution, but also important for you targeting your audience to position your solution. Information against peers, I always found helpful. If I was working on a solution that might be a deposit-oriented solution, I'd love to look at things such as organic deposit growth versus core deposit growth as well. There were so many indicators that I had available to me to use and then to peg against peers that it became, I hate to say easy, but it was easy to prepare yourself going into these discussions. And let's be clear, when you are an early stage fintech and you are trying to get people to pay attention to you, you may not feel like you have a lot of time to do research. I am here to tell you, you must do that research. You must show up like Mark and let these people know that you know them, validate yourself in the industry. I get that there's not a lot of time often between meetings. That's why proper tooling and understanding how you're targeting the right prospects and building that efficiency into targeting these prospects becomes your way to more successful conversations. I feel like I'm preaching here this morning, Mark, but that is just my view on things. You have limited time. Why not make the best use of it? Yeah. I would be remiss if I let this conversation end without addressing a new feature that you guys have rolled out into FI Navigator, which is a beautiful feature, and it's around intent and the signals that fintech founders might be looking for, which further enables them to target not only the right ICP, but the ICPs that are showing buying signals for their solution. Can you share a little bit about that with us? I haven't seen it yet. I'm dying.
Yeah, so we just saw, we have we go out and we capture a lot of data from job posts and resumes. So we were able to kind of look at, hey, what types of people are they trying to hire at these institutions? So some kind of intent, but not really. So we said, hey, we just need to heat up the game a little bit. So we partnered with who we believe is the leading provider of intent data in the market is Bombora. And a lot of people have used intent data in the past and not been happy with it. But what we did is we have a unique relationship where we're their only single vertical focused partner. So they send all of their intent signal data to us every week, and we're able to filter out all the traffic that's not related to US based financial institutions. So it just makes the whole process of using intent data very precise.
Correct.
So they look at a 12-week average of kind of background noise that you would expect to see. They partner with about 5,000 content providers, and they look for surges in activity around topics. That a lot of times when you combine 2 or 3 topics together, if they're hitting on all 3 of those at the same time, that's a really good purchase intent signal coming out of an institution. And they have 18,000 topics, so it's been impressive. So you build your profile of your ideal customer, and then you say, okay, which ones are talking about topics that would indicate that they're looking for a solution like ours. So it just makes the precision of your targeting and your messaging a lot more precise.
Absolutely. So these are the data that Bombora is finding, if memory serves. I've used them in the past. Is it some searches, internet searches?
Internet searches.
Yeah. Okay.
So they partner with content providers, over 5,000, that let them monitor their website traffic. It's all anonymized, but AI's, they're trying to deal with that as well, because a lot of people use AI search engine. But yeah, it's
as I think about this, just sitting here, being at Money 2020 this week, as I mentioned, tons of stablecoin, lots of Bitcoin discussions, just crypto in general, cross-border payments. How amazing would it be to come in and utilize a tool that enabled you to prospect correctly in a specialized vertical, financial services, using FI Navigator, but also being able to see which of these FIs are searching for details around stablecoins or around Bitcoin or crypto, trying to self-educate, see what they're looking at. That would be a key indication if they happen to also fall within your perhaps asset size ranges or tech stacks or other types of criteria. You would be using a tool like FI Navigator to find. Seems like a no-brainer. It seems like the best use of everyone's time.
Yeah, because it's not like, oh, I work well with institutions that use Silver Lake or Scimitar.
Right.
All these emerging technologies, nobody's doing it yet, right? So you're really looking for people that are thinking about doing it, right? That's where you want to be, and the intent data is pretty powerful for that type of activity.
Yeah, you're getting them in that awareness stage and education stage of the marketing funnel, and being part of that, getting them interacting with bankers at that stage and being part of their journey, helping to educate them, nurture them with information, and then also just interact with them at the right times and for a demonstration or a call. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And
a little bit too much of a sales pitch, but I mean, it's neat to watch people. It's neat to pull up a list of institutions with the intent data and them to go, yeah, we're talking to them already. We know they're interested. So it is nice to see it validated.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, and I hope I haven't been pitching FI Navigator too hard. I would love to get my hands on the solution again. Mark and I only work together in passing these days, but Mark, you are such an aficionado of the prospecting space. I really want to thank you for joining me here today. For those that might be watching this after the fact, prospecting is difficult in this space. There's lots of tools that can be used. There's lots of tactics that can be used. When it comes down to it, ensure that you're devoting your time, your energy, and that of your teams to focusing on the right institutions with the right messaging. Always ensure that you have a multi-pronged strategy. Chase those channel partnerships. Just don't lose sight of the ability to sell your solution directly while those channel partnerships are heating up or as they're ongoing. And then ensure that you take some time to focus on the roles, building out the roles and the targets within each financial institution, and that your messaging is appropriate for each. Mark, anything else you'd like to say in conclusion out here before we let everyone get back to their day?
Happy holidays coming at us fast, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm curious. Are you going to dress up for Halloween?
I am. I'm actually going to a friend's 50th birthday party, so I gotta go in costume.
Oh, okay. We're going to have to get into this at some point. I won't make you disclose the costume, but follow-up pictures are probably going to be required. I'm
Okay.
going to say that. Mark, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank everyone out there today. Hopefully that you have gathered some tactics and thoughts, at least, around prospecting and targeting FIs. Stay tuned. We'll have additional information for you in the future. I'm never going to let Mark just ignore my emails or phone calls. We're going to have him join as much as possible because he is such a great advocate for this space as well. So, Mark, thank you. Thanks to the FI Navigator team for letting you join us today as well.
Good deal. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you. You as well. Bye, everyone.